Hi, Ed here from keywordspeopleuse.com, and I've got an exclusive time-limited offer for you. If you book a product demo with Keywords People Use, I'll give you a free 7-day trial of our standard plan, which allows you access to our new content optimization tool. This tool hooks into your Google Search Console data so we can find all the keywords you're ranking for and what pages are ranking. We then crawl your site content and use advanced machine learning techniques like embeddings and cosine similarity to find you content optimization opportunities that will quickly boost your impressions and clicks from Google. This new feature in Keywords People Use is already showing results for people using it. Don't miss out on the opportunity of a 7-day free trial. Just go to keywordspeopleuse.com/demo to book your slot. That's keywordspeopleuse.com/demo. You'll find the link in the show notes of this episode. Hi, Ed Dawson here. And as I'm a bit busy at the moment and need a break, welcome to another one of my Best of SEO is Not That Hard podcasts. These are the episodes from the back catalogue that I think have the greatest hits and ones that are still relevant and provide great value for you. So without further ado, let's get into the episode. Hello and welcome to SEO is Not That Hard. I'm your host, Ed Dawson, the founder of keywordspeopleuse.com, the place to find and organise the questions people ask online. I'm an SEO, developer, affiliate marketer and entrepreneur. I've been building and monetizing websites for over 20 years, and I've bought and sold a few along the way. I'm here to share with you the SEO knowledge, hints and tips I've built up over the years. Hello and welcome back to SEO is Not That Hard. It's me here, Ed Dawson, as usual, hosting. And today I'm going to talk about exact match domains, mainly because I can't believe I've never done an episode about exact match domains. I was just going through the backlog, of stuff we've posted in the past, thinking, yeah, I must have done one on exact match domains, but obviously I clearly never have. Now, I know I mentioned it in the glossary series that I did, exact match domains, but that was only sort of touching the surface of what an exact match domain is, and it's a subject that deserves its own podcast, so let's dive into it. Now, exact match domains are one of those things which can cause a bit of controversy in the SEO community, mainly because some people have very strong opinions for or against exact match domains. So let's first of all define what an exact match domain is. So an exact match domain is a domain that exactly matches a search query. Okay. So for example, when we had broadband.co.uk, that exactly match is the search query broadband. Okay. Now that's obviously a very high level one. You might find others like plumbers in London. Okay, so you could buy a domain name plumbersinlondon.co.uk or .com or whatever you wanted, and that then is the exact match domain for the query plumbers in London. Okay, so we know what they are. Now it used to be, if we look at the history of it, going back, and I mean we're talking 12 years ago, at least 12 years ago, it used to be that having the exact match domain for a search query could give you and would give you quite a boost in search. Now, back in 2012, just checking the exact date, in the 27th of September 2012, Google launched what they called the exact match domain update, the EMD update. And Matt Cutts, who was the equivalent of John Mueller is nowadays, he was Google's sort of first ever search liaison type of person. Matt Cutts reported on Twitter, he said, minor weather report, small upcoming Google algo change will reduce low quality exact match domains in search results. Okay. And at the time, Google said this will affect 0.6% of English search requests are affected by this update, which sounds like not many, but that's sort of what just over 1 in 200 searches it affected. So 1 in every 200 searches. So you consider how many searches happen on Google every day. That's actually quite a lot of searches that are affected by it. And this was because back, sort of prior to September 2012, it was very prevalent that you would see, there was lots of thin sites being created where people would buy the exact match domain, and quite often on some very weird and, cheap top level domains like .infos and things like that, and .net, ones that people don't use very often. And they would cover the exact match and put like a 1-page thin site up there that was just purely specifically to target that one query and wasn't really about much else. And again, this is around the time when they were doing Panda, when Google were really into trying to sort of hit thin content, and they wanted to improve the sort of content that they ranked. And so going after exact match domains like this was one of the things they did. And then this exact match domain system became part of their core ranking systems. And it's mentioned in their sort of ranking systems guide. They say the exact match domain system, and this is quoting from that, it says, our ranking systems consider the words in the domain names as one of many factors to determine if content is relevant to a search. However, our exact match domain system works to ensure we don't give too much credit for content hosted under domains designed to exactly match particular queries. For example, someone might create a domain name containing the words best places to eat lunch in hopes that all the words in this domain name would propel content high in the rankings. Our systems adjust for this. Now, a lot of people have taken that update back in 2012 and this paragraph in their core ranking system documentation to say that Google penalise exact match domains and that you shouldn't have an exact match domain because it will be bad for you. Now, this is where my view is slightly different from that. And I know that there are others that share my view. I'm not alone in this view, but those of us with this view are probably in the minority, I'd say, because people read this and they go, oh, right, Google have hit exact match domains in an update before, therefore exact match domains must be bad. And they have said that they will adjust, they have a part of their core ranking system adjusts for exact match domains. And it makes it sound like it's in a negative way. But if you read those words carefully, they do say our ranking systems consider the words and domain names as one of the many factors to determine if content is relevant to a search. Right, okay? That's what they start with. They are telling you there, words in domain names are one of the factors that they use, that it's a positive thing. If it was a negative thing, they wouldn't have to have this dampener, okay, that they talk about later on. So they then say, because of this, we make sure we don't give too much credit for content hosted under domains designed to exactly match particular queries. So what they are saying here is we consider the words and we credit you with those. So if the words are in the domain name, then we credit that. But we do have a little dampener to make sure we don't over-credit it. Okay. So in this, what they're saying is, yes, the words in your domain name are considered part of the ranking algorithm and it can be beneficial, but we just make sure that it's not too beneficial. And if you go back to what Matt Cutts said, like in his tweet, he talks about whether content was thin, okay, whether they were low quality content, okay. So from this, we can deduce clearly that you can have exact match domain names, you can have the keywords in your domain name, and if you've got decent enough content, it will help you rank, okay. So exact match domains are not a bad thing. In and of themselves, they are not a bad thing, okay? And yeah, we had broadband.co.uk that had the keyword broadband in it. Any search that anyone did around the word broadband, we had that keyword in the domain name, and I'm pretty sure that it helped us, okay? We had great content, we had a great backlink profile, we had lots of other things SEO-wise that helped us, but having that broadband in the domain name did not hinder us at all. If anything, it would help, okay? Even if you didn't get any credit at all for exact match domains, the fact that people would link to us as broadband.co.uk a lot of the time just with the URL, they've then got that keyword in the anchor text of the links that are pointing to us again, which would help us along those lines. I've done other sites, plenty of other sites with keywords in the domain, and it's never ever hurt. I've doing some experiments at the moment. I think you've heard me talking about rank and rent recently. I'm doing a few little experimental sites just to see how difficult it is to rank for these rank and rent kind of like local, hyper-local searches and things like that. And I've been putting keywords in the domains. I've used some exact match style domains and they rank for the exact match to the domain. Okay. And these are sites that I've started. They're very new. Content on some of them isn't great yet because it's just almost some like a holding content. Okay, it's not awful, but it could be a lot better. And they are ranking for the domain name. They're ranking for the key for the phrase that I've put in those. And these some of them are 2-3 word phrases, and they rank for those 2 or 3 word phrases. And they haven't got a backlink profile yet. So it's purely coming off on-page content and from the strength of the domain name. Okay, so it does work. Does it work in hugely competitive marketplaces, hugely competitive topics? It will be harder. Like I say, with broadband.co.uk, we didn't just rank for broadband terms because of broadband in the domain name. That was too competitive, but it didn't hurt. But no, I wouldn't be going after them on that respect. A few other things to consider, okay? A lot of exact match domains have been registered and are just being held onto by domainers who ask silly money for them. I wouldn't go to the point of buying exact match domains for huge amounts of money. There's always ways around it. Put a hyphen in there to get around issues where, that the domain isn't available. Look at plurals. Look at adding another word onto things. So you can get the exact match in there with another word, can make it sound more branded. But yeah, I'm not into paying domainers huge amount of money for an exact match domain just because it's an exact match domain. That the benefit you get is, I don't think, worth that amount of money. Now, I hear some people will say, what about brand? You have to be a brand. You shouldn't use keywords in your domain name. You need to build a brand. And okay, that's not necessarily wrong if that's what you want to do. But it depends, I think, on your context. You can build a brand around exact match domains. You can build a brand around words like this. So, for example, broadband.co.uk, we built that into a brand. It became a brand. It was a recognized brand, and we sold it as a brand. Hotels.com, you wouldn't say that isn't a brand. There is loads, if you think about it, there's actually loads of big brands out there that started with a domain name and turned their domain name into a brand. And when it comes to local, it's even more likely that, this kind of thing can work. If you think, say, take any town name, say Buxton, place in Derbyshire near where I live, Buxton, buxtonplumbers.co.uk. Buxton Plumbers could easily be a great brand if you're a plumber in Buxton, because it explains clearly to everybody what you do and where. Okay, that's a brilliant brand if you're like a local service like that. Is it going to be one that's necessarily going to scale world, to take over the whole of the UK? Probably won't. But if you're a plumber and you don't want to scale that far, and it's really hard to scale to cover the entire country, even Pimlico Plumbers, which is again a fantastic example. If you're not from the UK, you've probably never heard of Pimlico Plumbers, but they're one of the biggest plumbers in London. Pimlico's an area of London, and they built their brand on being Pimlico Plumbers. They're the plumbers in Pimlico. Okay, they've expanded it to cover quite a lot of London, and the guy who set it up is a multimillionaire now. And, it doesn't need to cover the whole country. So having a sort of a descriptive, especially locally placed name is not necessarily a bad thing. And if you're looking at rank and rent, which I know more and more people are, then to go for those kind of descriptive location-based domain names, it's probably a really good thing to do, because it will give you a help. Because at that local level, you aren't competing so much with massive UK-wide or country-wide or whatever, or worldwide brands. You're especially for sort of service-level businesses that lots of these rank and rents go for. You are really working only against local competitors and local brands. And you can build that local brand around the domain name, no problem, and it certainly won't hurt when it comes to ranking. And even if I'm completely wrong and Google do not give any credit or boost whatsoever for the exact or partial match of keywords in a domain, then just having that domain name will get you links where people will just link to you with your domain name, and those keywords are in the anchor text. It will not hurt at all. So yeah, that's where I stand on exact match domains. It may be different to what other people are telling you. But again, with all these things, always just go back and do the research around why people might say something, and then read what Google and others have actually said about something, and you can read between the lines there and actually figure out the right message, or at least have a better, more educated guess at what the real message is, rather than just blindly listening to someone who just tells you something is bad or something is good with no reasoning why. Anyway, I hope you found that useful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Before I go, I just wanted to let you know that if you'd like a personal demo of our tools that keywords people use, that you can book a free, no obligation, one-on-one video call with me where I show you how we can help you level up your content by finding and answering the questions your audience actually have. You can also ask me any SEO questions you have. You just need to go to keywordspeopleuse.com/demo, where you can pick a time and date that suits you for us to catch up. Once again, that's keywordspeopleuse.com/demo, and you can also find that link in the show notes of today's episode. Hope to chat with you soon. Thanks for being a listener. I really appreciate it. Please subscribe and share. It really helps. SEO is not that hard. It's brought to you by keywordspeopleuse.com, the place to find and organise the questions people ask online. See why thousands of people use us every day. Try it today for free at keywordspeopleuse.com. To get an instant hit of more SEO tips, then find the link to download a free copy of my 101 quick SEO tips in the show notes of today's episode. If you want to get in touch, have any questions, I'd love to hear from you. I'm at Channel 5 on Twitter. You can email me at podcast@keywordspeopleuse.com. Bye for now, and see you in the next episode of SEO is Not That Hard.